Hey, coffee experts. Those of you running independent coffee shops, you're always looking for ways that you can drop your costs. And we here at the Coffee Experts Club really understand that. And so we've started something called Indie Coffee Coalition. And what it's designed to do is to drop your costs on two of the things that you're probably experiencing the highest sales volume in your store. And that is energy drink and frat mix. Those two line items, we've created our own products and are offering you those products at a reduced cost so that you can cut out the Red Bull of America. You can cut out the main lines of energy drinks that you're doing and serve your own energy drink at a reduced cost on a line item that you're probably already making a lot of sales on anyway. The best way that you can grow sales is by dropping your costs and maintaining a current volume. So check us out at indiecoffee.co and we'll love to tell you more there.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
What's going on, boys? Good to see you guys.
Howdy. Good to see you too, man.
Aaron,
Hello.
Ben's daughter up from her nap a little bit early, which is amazing.
Gotta love it.
Dude, this is coffee shop owner life, bro. This
That is true.
you own a shop. Now you have a kid. What are you going to do now? Now your wife's pregnant. What are you going to do? Like Ben's just living out the dream for us right now. So if you're listening in and you don't have kids yet, just buckle up and watch Ben. Let's see how this thing goes.
It's always bring your kids to work day.
I love it. And Drew's in Belize, which means I think we have a little delay with Drew, which is awesome. If you have a coffee shop in a third world country, guess what? You got to deal with internet delay because that's how it's going to work. So Drew, welcome from the country of Belize.
Happy to be here.
Oh no. There it is. I love it. Delayed and a little muted. That was amazing. Your beard is growing like a week, bro. That thing is sick.
Every time I have to man up, it grows a little. So
Talking about manning up, we're going to talk about manning up today. Today in this episode, we're going to talk about demotion. Blah, blah, blah. To this point, we've been talking about how to find people, like how to hand off processes. We've talked about delegate and elevate, right? Of how can we elevate you as the owner out, and how can we delegate things down? And then how do you find people, and how do you raise people up, and how do you empower people? That's been what we've been talking about the last several weeks here on Coffee Experts Club. But what about when you need to demote? Like it's a big one, right? That nobody loves demotion. Nobody loves to have the hard conversations, but it's so important to not put off the hard conversations, because if you put off the hard conversations, it starts stirring up the culture and changing the culture very, very subtly, eroding it from the bottom up. And so I think that we really need to be mindful of when's the time to have the hard conversations.
Yeah, I feel like demoting is uniquely more difficult too, because it's easy to let somebody go. Somebody steals from your shop and you're like, see ya. But like saying that, hey, I want to keep you around, but
I get it. I want to keep you around, but
yeah, I think there's a lot to take into account when it comes to demotion. Different levels of demotion, different kinds of demotion, how you approach the demotion, leading up to the demotion, because it's one of the last worst case scenario options, right? We want to believe in our people. We want to empower our people. We want to lift up our people, especially, in the cultures that we've been in and the culture we try to have within our businesses and our store. So there's a lot of tax to it. You don't want to go into it just swinging your sword around and cutting hands off.
I definitely think that the things you need to take consideration before. So I would say let's approach it very, very like you're walking in a situation, as if we were in the situation right now. Like how would you handle a situation like this? And what I would say is, first things first is don't be cavalier. Don't do it out of emotion, right? Like those are my two biggest things. Drew and I have this conversation all the time, not because he's emotional, but because I think that I always am the guy that's like, pump the brakes, pump the brake, pump the brakes. Because I will say Drew rattles hot faster than I rattle hot, right? And so Drew will be like, those effing guys, dude, let's get rid of those dudes. Those guys are crazy, right? He gets to a point. Drew is such a mellow cat until you push his buttons too long. And then he's like, nope, dropping the hammer now. This is how it's going to go. And I think it's good because sometimes I can err on the other side where I'm like, but do we really need to? Is now really the time? And so Drew and I balance each other out really, really well. But I would say always take a moment to like take a breath, pump the brakes a little bit, ask yourself, were the rules abundantly clear? Number one. Number two, have you had all of the hard conversations when those rules weren't being lived up to? Right. Because I think those two first things are critical, right? Do they understand what was expected? And then did you have the hard conversations with them when they weren't living up to them? So that by the time you do get to the point of demotion, demotion should be the final step in that. In my perspective, is they've fallen short, right? You've had the hard talks and you've documented them, right? Write ups are probably a really big part of this, Drew. Maybe we could talk a little bit about write ups on this show too. And then finally, when you're sitting down to have the conversation, that you can go back and say, hey, listen, this isn't a personal decision and it's not because I'm angry. Like it's just, there are certain things that need to be done within this role that time and time again, you've shown that either you don't want it or you're not a good fit for it. And this is what I mean. This time I talk to you, this time I talk to you, this time I talk to you. And these are the expectations that you're not living up to. That way it's a very simple black and white decision. And it's not filled with emotion of, I'm so pissed at you. And that's the hardest thing, right? I'm so pissed that you're dropping the ball. Why? Because if they drop the ball, typically it falls right back into your lap or into your manager's lap or whoever's lap it is that's running the business in the day to day. And that sucks. And there can be so much emotion around that. But I think that when it comes to the time of demotion, it just needs to be very cut and dry and very non-personal. It's just simply you're not matching the rules that this role requires. Drew, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strategy when it comes to dealing with people. And I know our podcast can be short, so you get a little bit of nuggets of information. If you'd like a deeper dive, you know how to find us. It's best to keep things, like you said, impersonal, black and white. Ben's great at this. He's MIA right now. But ever since I started at Roasters, he was the only one who upset Cody at the time, because Cody had forgot to do one thing, got a write up for it because Ben was black and white with policies. And then they're best buddies now. Could laugh it off comfortably and say, it's not my decision to write you up. It's not my choice to discipline you. It's not my choice to the path that you chose, the actions you decided to take led you here. Nothing to do with me, have nothing to do with how I feel. In fact, I actually really like you. Most of the people in our business we like, especially the people we're going to promote and invest in.
Right.
We feel, like I said, invested in these people and their journey. So documenting everything according to policy makes things easier for you, makes things easier for your manager. Now, the conversation, you can't necessarily have a SOP for demoting somebody conversationally, because you don't want to just text them. You don't want to just have a phone call. We're a personal business. You want to sit down and talk. You want to give them the time of day, because if you're demoting them, that means you're going to keep working with them. And so this conversation is not only just to demote the person, it's also to continue nurturing a relationship that you've built with them over time, just on a different level. And so, like you said, keep it black and white, follow policy, document every infraction, and then be ready to have a conversation, a nice conversation. Termination even should be a nice conversation. But demotion in itself can be kind of difficult for the person receiving the demotion unless they were just not happy in that position.
Yeah, I mean, I would say too, don't be afraid of it. I mean, we have plenty of people in our past who we've demoted and essentially said, thank you. I couldn't do this. I mean, there's a couple employees we had that I use as an example all the time of a guy who we promoted to manager, was not doing a great job, loved working there. And finally we had to say, hey, this doesn't seem like it's working out for you. And he was like, thank God. I didn't want to say anything, but I cannot handle this. Could you please demote me? So, I mean, that scenario happens a lot. I would say, don't let the fear of, having the tough conversation, stop you from, most likely helping the person who had gotten that position. Because nobody also likes to be in a position in management and then just feel like they're failing all the time. Like, that sucks. Like, do that person a favor and say, hey, you know what? This just isn't for you. It doesn't have to be for you. Not everybody's supposed to be a manager. And it's okay to just be a barista, or it's okay to move down to an assistant manager. It'll probably make you fear in the long run.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. I think understanding that for you as the leader, right, there can be a lot of emotion in it, right? Like you probably have to, not a lot of people don't like conflict, right? And this is going to be one of those kind of conversations that probably some conflict too, right? So then you work yourself up a little bit, right? So the emotion is high. And that's why like taking a breath and trying to make it as analytical as possible so that you can really just walk people through it. I love your example of Ben and Cody, Drew. I remember that. Like, as far as Ben just being like, hey, this is nothing personal.
Yep.
But you did this, you crossed these lines. I'm just the guy that has to hold the line. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I like you. I think you're a good dude, but when you cross the line, I've got to write you up. Otherwise the whole system breaks. And that's what I tried to express to one of our managers just last week was, hey, listen, you're not a bad guy. They're not a bad guy. But if you cross the line, like we're deputizing you to hold the line. And if we don't hold the line, if we don't hold the frameworks, then everything runs in chaos and everything is way more stressful. And it's not fair to you as the manager to just take on and absorb other people's roles just because they're falling short. They've been assigned something extra. Their pay is increased because of that. If they're not able to carry those duties, that's okay. We just need to find somebody who can, because it's not fair for you just to absorb them. So I think that as much as we can to let some of the negative energy out of it. And like Drew said, that really has happened more times than not, where people are like, thank God, because I don't think I'm cut out for this role, but I didn't know how to tell you that. And so thank you for that. So I think I think both of those things can be very empowering.
Hey, experts, we've got something really awesome that we do here at Coffee Experts Club, and that's called the My First Drive-Through Coffee Masterclass. So if you're opening your next coffee shop, I think a lot of times you may think to yourself, I know what goes into opening a coffee shop. I've been doing this for years, but maybe you've been doing it for somebody else. And maybe this is your first option of starting a coffee shop on your own. Or maybe you don't know anything about coffee and you're just like, I'm looking for a good investment opportunity. Starting a coffee shop seems like a good place to put it, and you're going to enter into it. But what you don't know is all the things that you don't know, right? And so what we've done with this masterclass is taken behind the scenes how you find your first location, what you need to be thinking about in finding a location. We give you a gift in the masterclass where it's a step-by-step process of how you're opening your coffee shop, the different checkpoints you need from coming up with your plans and talking with the city and then negotiating a lease. And then how do you build a team and what are the different pieces you need to be thinking about? It's a great masterclass, door to door, start to finish, completely free on opening up your next coffee drive-through. So check it out. It's at myfirstdrivethrough.coffee, and it's a great masterclass. You won't regret it. We'll see you on the inside there.
And Drew, you touched on it, and I think it's a really important thing to cut out or to talk about as well is even when that means letting somebody go, how can we let people go in a diplomatic, respectful, respect-giving, loving way of realizing, hey, so same exact thing, right? These are the infractions. These are how many times we've talked to you about it. Either you don't want this job, it just doesn't seem like you want it, or you just don't want to live according to the rules. And either one of those, it's just not healthy for us to both live in this environment, because if you don't want to be here or like you don't want to obey the rules, then you're going to be happier someplace else. So I think that us just parting ways is the kindest thing I can do for you, because you don't end up stuck here. You don't want to be stuck in a job that you hate. You don't want to be stuck in a job that you're going to keep getting in trouble for. Nobody likes that. So this is me just coming to you saying, hey, I love you as a person. It's just not going to work for you to be here based upon, once again, your behavior.
Yeah, I highly advocate. I mean, we as much as we advocate for being as transparent as possible with the employee journey of how they can gain raises and bonuses and all that, because it creates that some buy-in, right? I think it's equally as important from out the gate when you first hire somebody on, you're taking them through orientation, and be as transparent as possible about, hey, this is what gets you gone. We have 1, 2, 3 written infractions. After the third one, it's a firing. After the second one, we're gonna probably have a stern talk. If you just lay that out, like right out the gate, first orientation, then again, it sets up that playing field for like, not having to be the bad guy or making it an emotional thing, because they know, they read through it. Okay, I don't want to get 3 written infractions. And when you give them that first one, they're like, oh shoot, I know exactly what happens next. If I get a second one, this is going to happen. It just sets that groundwork for this being just a black and white thing. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because I think your hair looks stupid, so, I want to get rid of you. It's just like hey, we talked about this on day one. If you get 3 of these written infractions, is what we use in our case, then I have to let you go. My hands are tied effectively. I'm not trying to be a bad guy. I'm just tied by policy. This is number 3. That means, sorry, we'll see you later. But you knew that was coming.
Yeah. I think it's good.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Within our specific coffee world and atmosphere, there's only really a few positions that can be demoted. You got shift lead, assistant manager, right? Or you could demote, a morning person to a night person because they're not making those tips anymore. All things to consider when you're approaching said person. Another thing to consider is, what was their track record before their promotion? Obviously, it was probably good if they got promoted. So what are the things, what's the rub in their new position? Another thing to consider, if you're demoting someone and you have more than one location, should you keep them at that location where they got demoted? Should you move them to another location? You only have one location. How is it going to be nurturing this person forward? As we all know, someone gives their 2-week notice. The last 2 weeks can be incredibly difficult dealing with that person. When you demote somebody, how long is that lead time? How long is it? 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? Is it how long till they stabilize? What are you going to do on the back end when you're nurturing that relationship forward? All things to consider when you approach people that you're needing to demote.
I think it's important to acknowledge too that, like, I know you touched on the 2 week. If the 2 weeks isn't going well, there may be a time where you just have to part ways, right? Like if they put in their 2 weeks because they're going back to school and the relationship's great and they're still showing up for their shifts, the energy's still good. That's fine. 2 weeks is great. But if they've given you 2 weeks because they're pissed or because they have had a bad experience or because things are going sideways, there may need to be the conversation of, hey, like I just can't have this energy here. So I'm just gonna let you go. Yeah, I mean, thanks for giving us the 2 weeks. I appreciate the notice, but we just can't have bad energy here. And that's nobody likes hearing that. But at the same time, listen, I think the thing that we need to realize is we're in the culture of raising up young people. I mean, like the majority of coffee shops are young people. And so sometimes the best thing you can do for somebody is to teach them you can't act like this and still have a job, right? Like you can't have this kind of behavior and still have a job, and I think that a great way to deal with that, and I know we haven't really talked about it here, but maybe we should, Drew, think about it, is performance plans, like helping people understand, hey, I need to see, and maybe this is before the demotion, maybe this is before the firing, is like, hey, internally, I want the best ROI out of this person. I've invested a lot of time, energy for them to learn all my drinks, them to understand the culture, them to add to the network of the team, them to keep the scheduling from being an absolute pain in the ass because you're probably running pretty lean. You don't probably have a ton deep, right? So losing a player is going to put pressure on everybody else. What's the active plan that I can give this person to do a performance plan? And that is, hey, these things need to change. I'll give you 30 days to show me that these things can change. And if they don't, then it's probably going to mean that you're not going to have a job here anymore. Or it's probably going to mean you're not going to be able to do this role anymore because I can't keep dealing with this. So this is me giving you a shot across the bow saying, this can't happen. This can't continue to happen. If it does happen, this is how it's going to end. And that way, at least they have some sort of insights. But at any point, if energy starts going bad, sometimes you just need to let people go. And that's the kindest thing you can do for them because we're in the environment of culturing young people. And these people are going to go on and have more jobs. And the best thing you can do is make it not emotional. Don't attack their person. Just say, hey, you didn't live up to these standards. These standards are important to us here. Either that's because you don't want it or because you just don't care about breaking the rules. And that can't happen here because it throws chaos into the system.
One thing I would think of too with that performance plan, if you ever want to give that person a pathway to be promoted again, that's a great spot for it. Hey, look, we don't think that you're the right person for this now. That doesn't mean never. And here's what I'd like to see. If you do ever want to get back to the maybe the management position from the assistant, here's the pathway to make that happen again. Here's what I need to see out of you. And you might be surprised. Sometimes it just takes somebody to get knocked down a peg once to go, oh crap, I don't want to screw this up again. All right, give me a second chance.
Yeah, that's good. I think that something else that you touched on, Drew, that I think is really good is that transferring stores. Like I know there are different people that probably have different takes on that. Sometimes I feel like that's just the kindness, right? Because if you can tuck in an assistant manager transferring to another store, there's multiple issues going on, right? And so maybe that's the smoke screen of you don't want to make this a public thing. You don't want to publicly humiliate this person. You're going to transfer them to a different store. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is it's really hard if they stay at the original store and step down a level for people not to continue to come to them like they're the assistant, or for them not to throw waves for the next assistant or the next manager that's going to step in, right? And I'd say that's even more powerful. I know, Ben, you were talking about that guy back at Roasters days where he was a manager of a big location. It became too much for him. You offered him the demotion. He's like, thank God we moved him stores, because I think that the tough part about that is if he was the manager and stayed at that store, the next manager that comes up always feels like that guy's been here longer than me. That guy knows more of me. Like it just plays on insecurities. And that's really hard to live through as a leader, instead of just, no, let's just do the smart thing. Let's change locations, put that person over there, kind of a smoke screen on a demotion. And then it also gives this person coming up behind them new ground to be a leader amongst people that weren't previously in leadership.
Yeah. Well, and ultimately what do we want in our businesses? We want stability. We want health, and so these decisions are coming from a place of caring not only about the business, but about that person, because how much does it suck to be doing a terrible job at something you want to do well? How much does it suck to not understand how to do better if someone's coached you and yet you just don't get it? I mean, I couldn't learn math to save my life in high school. Wanted to, didn't get it. And it was very frustrating. Something as simple as that. Ultimately, you're making that it's not a personal decision. You want the business to thrive. You want the people in your business to thrive. And if that means a demotion, that's what that has to mean.
Yeah. And I would always advocate, the swapping, moving that person to another location. Obviously, if you only have one location, that's not possible. So unfortunate for that person, they just kind of take on the chin at that point. But if it's a demotion, that's not because it depends on how the person takes it. If the person is thankful for the demotion, I think not swapping locations, they could probably live through that. If they don't take it lightly, then you'll probably end up losing them anyways. So don't stress over it. If you're going to demote somebody and they are extremely unhappy about it and they don't have another location of yours to go to, keep an eye out, because they're probably not going to last very much longer. They're probably going to be angry. They're going to be, like you said, a little bit humiliated because everybody knew them as a manager. Now they're working the night shift now, whatever it may be. So if you don't have another location to send them to once the demotion and it goes badly, just, always keep an eye on that person, because they'll probably leave your company pretty quickly.
But I think also think through, are there other things that, like, I don't want to underemphasize the fact of you've invested a lot in this person if they've been with any amount of time, right? Like you've poured a lot of dollars into them understanding your culture, them understanding your product, them knowing your customer base, right? That invaluable. There's no way you can shortcut that, right? That just takes time. And if you put time into them, is there some way we can redeem it? So I really like what we've done at De Los Mayas is like talk to people, even the management track, about, hey, just so you know, there are going to be a lot of opportunities here. And what that might look like is the more locations we have, there could be a regional manager that's over all the managers. So if you don't like working with the public every day, there could be an opportunity where you're just culturing managers. That could be a vein. There's also going to be, the more locations we have, 3 now, we're only going to keep growing. There's going to be an opportunity for somebody that's going to facilitate, like manage all of our machines, like with maintenance. Like if you just like working on machines, there's a spot there for you for that. Like if that's something that you could like, so if you don't want to get up every day, like for the rest of your life at 4:30 and be there to open up the stores, like there could be another spot where you travel around amongst the stores doing preventative maintenance, fixing like things about the building, fixing things about the machines. The bigger you get, you're going to want to bring that internal. There's an opportunity for us, we start creating all of our own syrups, so if you don't necessarily like the customer facing side of it, but you love the product, love the brand, love working with us, there's a spot where you could be creating syrups for us, creating our own products. Like there's a whole opportunity there, and just helping people to see the vision of this thing is only going to keep getting bigger. And it's not all expression of barista and managing a retail expression of coffee. So if you're the right cultural fit and we've made this kind of investment in you, think about that as an owner. How can I get ROI? There's social media. So like who's handling your social media? Like we've got a gal in Belize who's awesome. I love the way she does our social media. Such a smart girl, way freaking better than me and Drew trying to dick around with the thing, like she's just good at it. So we'll have our marketing meetings on Wednesdays every week, and we have a conversation about it. We talk about what's coming up the next week and what do we need to be thinking about in the months to come. And we help her with some of the frameworks, but we use her creativity because she's so gifted in it, but she's never been a barista. She's never worked for us, but she's brilliant at the marketing side of things. So are there parts of it where like you could use this person that understands your culture, that understands the fit of the business, that understands your drinks, that understands what your customer base wants, and then can spin that into a different direction. So I think always ask yourself, is this a problem with this person? Is this a behavioral problem, or is it just a position problem? And could there be a better position for this person? And it's our job, I think, to educate people to think bigger and broader, because there could be something else that fits them better. And to your point, Ben, like nobody likes being a square peg trying to be jammed into a circle hole. Like that's just going to be frustrating for everybody, right? It's frustrating for the person that's pounding on that peg, trying to wear down the edges, right? And frustrating for the peg that you weren't designed for that. That's okay. Let's find the hole that you were designed for and let's get you there, because that's where you're going to fit best. And that's going to be most enjoyable for you and definitely more enjoyable for us to manage. So I think just thinking all those things through. We've talked about a lot of different things today, guys. You guys are awesome coffee experts. I'm sure the listeners, you guys are experts in your own realm as well. So I hope that helped. Drew, excellent talking with you. Ben, amazing to see you. And Coffee Experts, we'll see you next week here on Coffee Experts Club.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.